It had been a morning of cooking. Katie found out that if shell bits fall into the frying pan, you are going to have crunchy egg. And Orbie learned that sometimes milk pours out faster than you think. And they both discovered that jams come in the colors of the fruit that they're made from. On this particular day, the whole family was perched on Mom and Dad's bed, enjoying breakfast. It happened that Katie, who was loving the rather squished but fun experience, asked Mom if she remembered eating breakfast in bed with her parents. As Mom spread marmalade on her toast, she shook her head. She couldn't remember if she had ever done that. And Katie thought it was strange that Mom didn't remember. But she was keen to find out if Dad had, so she asked him. Dad said that they'd never done it in his family either. At least he couldn't remember if they had. Katie frowned at this. How could they possibly forget something so nice? Mom sighed. Some things were difficult to remember. Orbie raised a finger and burbled that it was important to remember things. Mom had told him that herself. Dad looked at Mom because Orbie was right. Mom said that over the years some of the past got a little foggy. Katie could not believe it. She asked, could they remember what their favorite color was? Nobody would ever forget that. Dad looked at Mom and then he chuckled because he honestly couldn't recall even having a favorite color. Mom giggled. It was silly not to be able to recall these things. But Katie wasn't giggling at all. She turned to her best friend who was trying hard to stay on the bed and she asked him, what if they forgot? Orbie looked at her. They would never forget the things that were so special to them. But Katie said if Mom and Dad had forgotten, then maybe everybody does. This was starting to worry Katie. Mom put her arm around her and said that she did remember that she loved to play in rain puddles. Dad said he used to love to catch frogs. Katie was encouraged. She asked what Dad's favorite breakfast was when he was a kid. And Dad thought and thought, but nothing came. Then Orbie burbled, did Mom like to play board games when she was his age? Mom scratched her head. She thought, well, maybe she did. But strange, it was so hard to remember about your own self. As Katie and Orbie put their cups on the kitchen table, they realized they had a problem. They did not want to forget anything ever. Katie put her hands on Orbie's shoulders. They'd better work at remembering right this minute in case they were already forgetting. They scurried to the couch and sat there, trying hard to remember everything. It hit Orbie first. He couldn't remember his very first favorite toy. Katie did. It was her teddy, but she couldn't remember her favorite outfit when she was 3. The two friends looked at each other. If they were already forgetting, they were in trouble. It was about that time that Dad trotted down the stairs with a notepad, a coloring pad, and crayons, and Mom came down behind him with a pen. Mom explained that it was easy to forget when a whole long life filled up all of the spaces in your brain. So she and Dad had come up with an idea. Dad put his things down on the coffee table. The two friends couldn't wait to hear what the idea was. Dad explained that they were going to write a letter to themselves in the future. And when they got to the future, they could remember the past that way. Mom said that the future is a whole lot of days and nights from right now, maybe 2 or 3 years of them. Orbie burbled to Katie that it was getting pretty complicated. Dad wondered if the friends could remember what they had for dinner 3 Saturdays ago. Katie and Orbie thought and moaned and churned, but in fact so much had happened since then that they couldn't. Dad smiled. That was the problem. They would write a letter today so that when a few weeks or months or even years went by, they could read the letter and remember. Katie clapped her hands. She loved the remembering part. Orbie burbled, it was a perfect plan. Dad wore a silly hat and pretended to be a reporter. First, he asked Orbie what was his favorite thing to do in winter. Orbie leapt up on the chair, pretending that he was doing it. He was driving the sleigh at Micah's farm. Katie loved everything about winter, but making snow art in their front yard, that was the best. Mom wanted to know about favorite things to eat. Everybody knew that Orbie would toot orbits. Katie smiled. They were Dad's famous made-to-order pancakes. Dad rubbed the pen in his whiskers. What was their favorite pretend game? Katie said the Snow Princess, and Orbie chose the Grouchy Troll. Yum, 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 yum. Mom asked about their favorite presents. Orbie tooted that it was his cowboy boots. And I have to say, everybody agreed. Katie thought hard. She had a whole lot of nice presents. Then she remembered all the fun she and her friends had drawing a storybook on the driveway. It was definitely the sidewalk chalk. What was the most exciting thing that had happened to them, Dad asked. Katie thought it was winning the drawing contest. Orbie loved that, but nothing beat the joy he felt when he conducted the orchestra. They spent all morning remembering and writing things down. They drew pictures, too, and chose some photos. Mom kissed Dad's cheek and suggested they do the same thing. She looked at the two friends drawing away. After all, who would ever want to forget this moment? Dad loved her idea, and it reminded him of a good question. Who was their very best friend? Katie looked at Orbie and giggled. And Orbie beamed at her. There was no question. They hugged to prove it. At the end of the day, with all of the questions answered, the pictures drawn and a few photographs thrown in, Katie and Orbie licked and sealed their envelopes. Katie announced that now her today self was safe in her memory. Orbie tooted his was too. Mom placed the envelopes in her safekeeping box where they would wait for the future. That night at dinner, the entire family agreed that writing memory letters was so much fun that they would do it every year. And that was a very good idea. I'm sure you could do something like that at your house. You're very much worth remembering. And when you get to the future, you'll love the reminders.
Drops. That's how hot air balloons work. When the pilot wants to go higher, she heats up the air in the balloon with a special heater. And that could be very useful when you need to avoid something like a mountain. Look out below!